Audible Inc. presents Arrested Development and Philosophy, edited by Christopher Phillips and J. Jeremy Wisnewski, narrated by Gabrielle Cuir and Stephan Rudnicki. Introduction by Christopher Phillips. This is the story of a wealthy family who lost everything, including their show, and the group of philosophers who had no choice but to write a book about it. Well, it's a matter of philosophical debate whether or not we really had a choice in the matter, or ever, but one thing is for sure, we really wanted to. The reasons for wanting to write on the philosophical underpinnings in Arrested Development are probably as diverse as the characters in the show. I, for one, had many different reasons, including, and certainly not limited to, an intense desire to watch and rewatch the entire series with friends and professors. As I watched and rewatched, I found myself wondering whether the Bluths really are as unrelatable as they think they are, at least in the third season. As I watched Buster, the youngest of the Bluth boys and the self-proclaimed scholar of the family, it occurred to me that perhaps the show ended prematurely not because the family is weird and difficult to relate to, but rather because each character might be seen to exhibit the traits that we are afraid. Fear turns to anger, so frightened inmate number 2 isn't frightened at all, he's a crabby old coot, that we exhibit in the various roles we fill. For example, I often fear that Buster represents academics in general, or at least perpetual graduate students, especially those of us that tend to study the more esoteric, heady topics. Buster is someone who is moderately intelligent and uses his family's considerable assets to pursue academic avenues that, well, let's face it, really don't offer much by way of preparation for the real world. Didn't everything get mapped out by Magellan or NASA? Buster's life embodies the spirit of the question most often asked to students of philosophy. What are you going to do with that? And Buster is not alone in representing what academics might fear about themselves. Just take a look at Tobias. Qua, in the role of academic, Tobias has an impressive resume. He was chief resident of psychiatry at Mass General for 2 years and did his fellowship in psycholinguistics at MIT. Not too shabby. Not to mention the fact that he was both a practicing therapist and a practicing analyst, a professional twice over. But the business cards almost got him arrested, and with good reason. Tobias engenders the old archetype of the academic who is so well educated that he just doesn't really know how to be a real person. He lacks common sense entirely, which might explain the analrapist business cards and the administering of CPR to a sleeping but healthy tourist. The traits he embodies, when we look at him as an academic, make him an exaggeration of those fears that academics may have: the total loss of ability to relate to anyone else, complete failure to function in the world, and so on, and all for the cost of an impressive academic resume. While it's not always obvious how some academic pursuits prepare their scholars for the real world, surprising and extenuating circumstances do pop up. I am optimistic that even if the principles of 17th century agrarian business don't quite apply to the housing development business today, we're not too concerned about any uprisings, are we? By the end of this book, the philosophers who contributed to it will have convinced you that the principles of 17th century philosophy, and those that are much, much, much older, really do apply to everyday life in the OC, don't call it that, as well as to life in general. Besides being relevant to everyday life, philosophy might even be able to help prevent you from emulating Job. That is, we might even help you to avoid making a huge mistake. Note: who would have guessed that a philosophy education could be used to edit a book on the Bluths? Part 1. Family First.
1. Is the examined life a huge mistake? Happiness, Self-Knowledge, and the Bluths. By J.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?